Hi everyone, this is Shauna from the Foil Fox, and today we're doing a real fun project using alcohol inks, doing a little foiling, and then making a shaker card. We're going to be using the My Favorite Things Celebration or Celebrate speech bubble, and then also the Martini window and frame. But first we're going to start out with doing some alcohol ink painting, and so we're going to use some alcohol ink cardstock, or you can use Yupo, and then I'm using Flamingo, Shell Pink, Sunset Orange, Sunshine, a little 99% alcohol, and a paintbrush. So let's just get started. I'm going to start out with very gingerly making a few dots of the flamingo. As you can see, it really spreads on the paper, and so you have to be really controlled about those dots, otherwise too much will come out and it'll spread and kind of take over your paper. But I'm letting these dots just kind of spread on their own. They do create a really nice circle on their own. And then you can see it spreads quite a lot. And then I'm going to use an acrylic board, and I'm putting some alcohol inks right on the acrylic board also, so that I can do the centers. I'm going to dip my brush into some alcohol, and I'm going to start with the Sunset Orange going on the Flamingo dots, and then on the Shell Pink dots I'm going to use the Sunshine Yellow. And I'm just putting them in the centers and letting them kind of spread. The reason why I'm not squeezing a drop on them is because if I do, it'll make a big drop that's maybe even bigger than the drops I already have, and then it's going to just overtake them. So a way to control that is to use a paintbrush. You can see I also did some splatters with the paint brush with a little bit of alcohol ink and alcohol on it. And then in the centers there I use pearl, and you see how shimmery pearl gets. And then I'm going to go back and do a few more splatters, and then I'm going to touch up some of these centers again, because what I'm trying to achieve is kind of this outline around the center. So if you think of the center as the nucleus and then the outside perimeter of the nucleus, I want it to be a little bit thicker there with the alcohol ink, because anywhere where the alcohol ink is just a little bit thicker, when you run it through a laminator, it causes the gold foil to stick. And so it gives a really beautiful appearance to it. I'm just going to add a little bit more of the orange to the flamingo dots and more the yellow for the shell pink, and then go back and add some pearl as well. And I'm just going to go back and forth until I get it to the way I would like it, and that I do have a little bit of accumulation of those rings around there, so I can have some gold foiling stick there. Now I decided I wanted another few dots on here, but I didn't want it to grow as big as it would if I dropped some, so I'm just using my paintbrush and letting it I'm just trying to make sure that I have enough alcohol on my paintbrush, and then dipping it into the alcohol ink so that it's a little bit fluid and it will spread a little bit on its own, but without it getting too big. And we're going to go back and add those centers with the Sunset Orange, and then a little touch of the pearl in the center. So you can see those little nucleus I'm looking for. So I'm using some Deco Foil, and I'm taking a sheet out of the gold, laying it right on top with the shiny side up, putting it into a folded piece of paper. I ran it through the laminator. This was using a Heidi Swapp mink, and it was at the setting 5. And then see how those have those wonderful shiny gold foil now. It really adds a nice touch. So we're going to take out the speech bubble, the Celebrate speech bubble, and then we're going to also be using these that martini glass, and we're going to cut 4 of those. But I first cut the panel from the alcohol ink that we just finished, and I used a stitched border frame just to create a finished edge on that panel. And then I cut out the Celebrate out of the center of it, with it being a little bit off center. And then I also cut one out of gold foil paper. It's a bright gold foil paper, and it'll be a nice accent. And you'll see what we'll do next. So I'm going to push all these letters aside. You can use that for another project. And I'm going to take the gold and put it underneath. But we'll first create another pink panel, and I'll cut that with the die that gives a stitch edge. And then here are all the 4 martini window frames that we had cut before, and I'm going to stack one on top of the other, so we'll have 4. So I'll give it a nice dimension. I'm just using the Tombow liquid glue and sticking them one right after the other right on top, and just making sure that they're really lined up. And it dispenses, this applicator for the glue dispenses a nice fine line, so it gets enough glue on there, but it's not too much. And I'm just squeezing these on. I'm going to take a piece of paper and just kind of press that down. I want to make sure I don't have anything on my finger, so the way to avoid any transfer from something that might be on my fingers is to put a paper over it and then smooth it down. Now here's our last one, our 4th one. Just adding that on, pressing that down really well. And then we're going to go on to just cleaning those edges out of any glue, any excess glue. Pressing it down again. And then we're going to move on to creating the shaker portion. This little triangle came out of the center of that martini glass. I'm going to actually take a lighter piece of paper, and I'm going to use that as a guide and just trace a little bit larger, because I want it to go over the back and actually hold in all the contents of our shaker. And I'm going to color it also so that it looks like that it has red in there. You know, red. This is a Cosmo, this isn't a martini. This is for my daughter, and she loves them, so she loves the cranberry juice that's in it, so we got to make sure it's all nice and red. I'm using 2 Copic markers. One is, the lighter one is R22, and the red is R29. And so there's these neat little ice cubes that come with this set, and then also, of course, the shaker pouch. I'm just kind of checking that out to see how that's going to look, and I think that's going to work just great. So I'm going to take the pouch, the plastic pouch, and we'll glue that in place. And these are really handy because they're going to create that pouch for you. You don't need to have any acetate. And so you're ready to put your contents in. I'm using the Queen & Company pop toppings. They come in a rainbow of colors. This set does, but I'm going to use the red and the pink, and then also those ice cubes. I just love those ice cubes. I think they're adorable. And so they really work with this kind of a drink. I'm making sure I got the red balls down the bottom, because you know it's gonna look redder at the bottom. I'm going to just put the back on and turn it over and see if I have enough content in there or if I need more balls. But I think I'm going to add just a few more. And now I'm going to put the back on there. Spread out that glue so it doesn't ooze out to the front. And stick the back. Look, we have a really nice martini, or a Cosmo in this case, shaker. But a Cosmo often has a sugar edged rim, and so I'm going to take a little bit of glue and put it right on the very end, and then some on a little tiny bit on the front, and then use the white glitter, chunky glitter from Heidi Swapp. And by the way, all of the supplies that I'm using you can find at the Foil Fox, but you know, if you want to know every one that I used, then just check out the link below for our blog and pop over there, and all of them are listed. So now we're on to assembling. So I'm going to take the gold Celebrate, and I'm going to just apply a little bit of glue, and because you don't need much, and then I'm going to use that on offset it from the other one, so just a little bit of the gold is peeking through. There you see just a little bit of the gold, and then there's the panel that we cut it out of, and I'm going to actually offset it from there too. But first I'm going to apply this little bit of the alcohol ink panel that we have left onto some Candy Heart heavy cardstock, and that's that really deep pink. Kind of set that a little bit diagonal, and then I'm going to add foam tape to the back of this speech bubble die cut out, so that it can pop up and give a little bit of dimension. So I'm putting it all the way around the perimeter, and then I'll add a little bits in the center as well, just so that it doesn't push down and kind of cave in the center. But just in between those areas where there is a little bit of solid paper, it won't show through to the front. I have a white cat, a very long-haired, gorgeous white cat, and so I have to check everything that I do, because her fur gets everywhere, and she loves to lay all over my craft desk, because she thinks everything on that desk is just wonderful to play with. So I'm just kind of positioning. I'm going to put that off center also. So I'm going to peel the release paper off. Here we go. Just put that kind of in position. We're going to have a little bit of the pink peeking through, and then also we'll see that gold. And I'm going to apply that Cosmo just right on top. And remember, we have 4 of those martini glasses all stacked together, and so it makes a dimension itself. You don't have to put any more foam tape, but it still stands up a little bit. And I've decided that I'm going to use some double stick tape, some narrow tape, just because I wanted to make sure that none of the glue would ooze to the front. This is a good way to control it. but of course you can use liquid glue or any kind of glue that you would like. I'll pull off all the release tape from the back, exposing that double stick. There we go. I'm going to stick that right opposite diagonal from the Celebrate, and I'm letting that Celebrate just be part of the sentiment. Just love that. It's nice and subtle. Then I decided I wanted a gold backing, but I wanted it to have some texture to it. So I just took a piece of the same bright gold foil paper, and I got it on a scoreboard, and I'm just scoring on every line. And you'll see it starts to curl up a little bit, kind of makes like a roll top desk. But you don't have to worry about that, because you're going to glue it down and you're not even going to know that it curled like that. At every line, I'm just scoring. And I'm doing it on the back side because I want those lines to be raised on the front side. If you wanted them concave, then you would do it on the front. So there you are. Now you have really nice texture paper. I love how that turned out. So I have a white card base that's slightly larger than the gold base, or I should say that the gold panel that I'm putting tape on now is slightly smaller than the white card base. I wanted the card base edge to show ever so slightly so that it could tie in with the white that's in the front of the card. Adding some tape to the back and going to position this slightly diagonal, and there we go. The only thing that we have left to do is to add a little bit of sequin. Now these gold sequin aren't the ones that are cupped and have the hole in them. They're completely flat and they have kind of a little texture to them, but I'm also combining them with the clear regular cupped sequin. I think this one comes from Neat and Tangled Like Magic, and then those little gold I don't remember the name of them at this moment, but you can find them in our supply list. And so I'm going to apply them using the mini glue dots. These are the 1/8 inch glue dots. They work extremely well. And the little trays there, I just love those because I can contain my sequin in each one of those little trays, and then I can pour them right back in. So here is the card. You see that nice shaker, and then it has the foil. It's so bright and cheery. I just loved how it turned out. I wanted to thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give us a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, please subscribe and pop over to our blog. We have lots of fun projects there, and we'd love to see you there. And you can find this complete supply list. So check those out. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.